You hold a flame in your hand. It flickers at the tip of a match, and you barely look at it. Fire is background noise to you now. A stove dial, a lighter, a candle on a cake. But take it away, and almost everything that makes you human begins to come apart. For nearly 1,000,000 years, fire has been quietly shaping the body and the brain you carry right now. Not as a tool you picked up and put down, as a force that rebuilt your species from the inside out. So, what if it never happened? What if your ancestors never tamed that first flame? To understand what you would lose, you first have to understand what fire actually gave you. And it is far stranger than warmth. Start in a cave in South Africa called Wonderwerk. In 2012, a researcher named Francesco Berna found something buried deep inside it. Burned bone, ash from plants, sediment heated to temperatures that only a controlled fire can produce. The signs were sitting about 1,000,000 years old, deep enough inside the cave that no lightning strike or wildfire could have reached them. Someone had carried fire inside, on purpose, and kept it alive. That is the key word, kept. Move north to a site in Israel called Gesher Benot Ya'aqov. An archaeologist named Nama Goran Inbar spent years excavating its layers. She found clusters of burned flint and seeds and wood, sitting in the same spots again and again across the site, roughly 790,000 years ago, not scattered randomly, concentrated, returned to. These were hearths, the same patch of ground used as a fireplace, over and over, by people who knew exactly what they were doing. So, fire was not a one-time accident. Your ancestors learned to hold it. Now here is where it gets interesting. Because the obvious answer to why fire is warmth or safety from predators in the dark, both are real, both matter, but neither is the thing that actually changed you. The thing that changed you was dinner. A primatologist at Harvard named Richard Wrangham spent decades on a single idea, and he laid it out in a book called Catching Fire. His argument is simple and a little unsettling. Cooking is not a luxury. Cooking is external digestion. When you heat food, you are doing outside your body what your stomach and intestines would otherwise have to do inside it. Heat breaks down tough fibers. It unfolds proteins. It turns hard starches into soft fuel. A cooked meal hands your body far more energy for far less effort than a raw one ever could. And that changes everything downstream. Think about how a chimpanzee eats. A wild chimp spends around 6 hours a day just chewing. 6 hours. Their food is raw, fibrous, and stubborn, so their jaws and guts have to do enormous work to extract a living from it. Now think about your own day. You spend maybe an hour eating, often less. The difference is not your willpower, it is your fire. Cooking did the hard work before the food ever reached your mouth. So what did your ancestors do with all those freed up hours? And all that freed up energy? They grew a brain. There is a famous idea in anthropology called the expensive tissue hypothesis, proposed by two researchers, Leslie Aiello and Peter Wheeler, back in 1995. Here is the plain version. Your brain is staggeringly costly to run. It is about 2% of your body weight, but it burns roughly a fifth of your total energy every minute, awake or asleep. A big brain is a hungry brain. Your body cannot simply decide to build one. It has to find the fuel. Aiello and Wheeler noticed something. As the human brain grew larger over evolutionary time, the human gut grew smaller. One expensive organ shrank while another expanded. The body was making a trade. And the thing that made that trade possible, the thing that let your ancestors afford a smaller, weaker digestive system was a steady supply of food so rich and so easy to digest that the gut no longer needed to be a giant fermentation tank. That food was cooked food. So picture the world where the flame never caught. You wake before dawn, cold to your bones. There is no hearth, so the night never truly ended. You slept in shifts, half of you always shivering, always listening to the dark beyond the trees. Your first task of the day is the same as your last. Eat, not a meal, a marathon. You spend the morning chewing. Raw tubers that fight back against your teeth. Tough raw meat, stringy and hard to break down, carrying parasites your stomach must wrestle on its own. By midday, your jaw aches. You are still hungry, because raw food gives up its energy slowly and grudgingly. You cannot afford to wander far or think too hard, because thinking is expensive, and you do not have the fuel to spare. There is no fire to gather around at night, so the social glow that pulls a tribe into a circle never forms. No flickering light to stretch the day past sunset. No warmth to push your species out of the warm equator and into the freezing north. When the cold comes, you have nothing to answer it with but your own thin skin. This is not a worse version of human life. This is a different animal entirely. Without cooking, your gut stays large and your brain stays small because you can never gather the surplus energy to build anything more. You stay near the warm middle of the planet, unable to survive a real winter. Europe stays empty of you. The whole northern world stays out of reach. And the slow, patient, fire-fed expansion of the human brain, the one that eventually produced language, planning, art, and you simply never starts. Here is the twist, and it is the part people miss. You tend to imagine fire as protection. Something that kept the darkness and the predators at bay. A shield. But the deeper truth is that fire was not mainly a shield. It was a stomach, an organ your ancestors built outside their own bodies. They invented a way to digest food before swallowing it, and that single trick freed up enough energy to grow the most expensive object in the known universe, the human brain. Agriculture, cities, writing, every later leap people love to talk about, none of it was the real turning point. The real turning point was older, quieter, and warmer. It was the first ancestor who carried a burning branch back to the same spot, day after day, and refused to let it die. Now look up from the past for a moment. You still live by that fire. You just call it other things now. The hearth became the kitchen. The campfire became the stove. The circle of faces lit by flame became the dinner table. And then the glowing screen your family drifts toward at night. The same ancient pull is still there toward warmth, toward light, toward the gathering place where food is made and people come together. When you microwave leftovers, you are using the oldest human technology there is. When you grill, roast, boil, or toast, you are running a process your body now depends on so completely that it can no longer be undone. Your jaw is too weak for a fully raw life. Your gut is too small. Your brain is too hungry. You are, in the most literal sense, a creature that cannot live without cooking. That is how deep it goes. Fire did not just keep your ancestors alive. It carved itself into the shape of your teeth, the size of your stomach, and the volume of your skull. You did not domesticate fire and walk away unchanged. Fire domesticated you right back. So the next time a flame appears at the tip of a match, look at it a second longer. You hold a flame in your hand, and without it, you would not be the creature holding anything at all.